Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're doing really good. Basically, I was on YouTube last night and I've realised that nobody has done an eczema tag or a skin condition tag or anything like that. So do you know what? I'm going to start one. I'm going to start a tag here today. So we're going to call it the eczema tag, but this will be open to anyone with a skin condition, whether that be acne, vitiligo, psoriasis, eczema, anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag some lovely skin warriors right here, and I hope that you do a response to this. If you find that someone has done this eczema tag already, I have tried to look, I couldn't find one, just let me know and I'll be sure to give them credit, even though my questions will be completely different. Okay, so let's get on with the eczema tag. What is your condition? So I've been diagnosed with eczema, also known as atopic dermatitis, sometimes sensitive skin, dry skin, crusty, dusty, bow-busted skin. That's me. How long have you had your condition for? My entire life. I don't remember a day where I've had 100% clear skin. Even on good skin days, I'm probably still be at like a 90. There is always something going on with my skin. Do I have manageable days? Yes, of course, and some days are a lot worse than others. But I've had this since I was about 6 months old and I'm currently 31, so let's just say 31 years of eczema. How has your skin condition affected you? It's affected my confidence, it's affected how I look at myself, it's affected me mentally. I always feel like I'm not good enough or I could be better, and maybe my eczema is a root of that. It affects me emotionally. Some days I don't want to leave my house. I feel like getting out of bed is too much of an effort. When I'm having a very uncomfortable skin day, I know I can be quite irritable, and it's not even on purpose. It's just like you don't know how to deal with it, so you snap at people, and it's not aimed at them. You just feel so irritated, in pain, frustrated, that you take it out on other people. And I know that is how I can be at times. I try not to let it take over my whole personality, but there are days when like I really don't want to talk to anyone, and I'm sure other people can relate to this. It's not us, it's how we feel. As a child, I felt like I was very shy, very introverted, very reserved. I used to walk around with my hands like in my jumpers, just very to myself. As a teenager, as much as we all have all the changes that go on as we grow up, I also had to deal with not feeling very pretty, feeling quite low self-esteem, low confidence, especially when it came to the opposite sex, and you're just wondering how are they going to perceive you, how are they going to accept this skin condition when I myself already don't accept it. And as an adult, it's affected like my job choices, it's affected how I present myself at an interview. I'm still very much so not comfortable with being the center of attention. So an interview, all the attention is on you and people are looking at you, they are judging you, they are seeing how you present yourself. I feel like as much as I have gotten jobs in the past, I feel like if I didn't have eczema, I might have aced a couple more interviews because I would have been more confident in myself. So it affects every part of your day, honestly. It's ingrained in you almost. How many people do you know that also have eczema? If you had asked me this question before 2017, let's say going back to school, I knew another 2 students that had eczema, and that is only because it's very visible. One girl I knew, she used to always scratch. It was constant. She would always go at her neck, so it's hard to ignore. Another student was a boy, and he used to come in wraps. I'm assuming his parents applied cream to him, and to stop the cream from rubbing off on his clothes, they would wrap him. So those are the 2 people I remember from school. In secondary school, I honestly felt like I was the only person with eczema. There was a lot of acne going around in secondary school, as you can imagine, but when it came to like full body skin issues, I felt like I was the only one. I tried to hide it a lot, but when it came to activities like PE, I think it was pretty obvious that my skin was different from everyone else's. But I didn't really notice anyone else with extensive eczema like myself. As an adult, in my close circle of friends, I only know one person with like full body eczema, not just seasonal, but like constant eczema, chronic eczema. In my wider circle, probably that would increase to about 3 people. And now, 3 years into a topical steroid withdrawal journey, I've come to know about maybe, I don't know, 10,000 plus people that have this condition. It's a big game changer to know that I'm not the only one out there dealing with this condition. However disheartening it is to see that people of my age still suffer from it, it is comforting to know that I'm not the only one, even though I did feel like that when I was a lot younger. What treatments have you tried and have they ever worked? I feel like I've tried quite a few methods to treat eczema. Just short of pills and injections, I have tried steroid creams, coconut oil, shea butter, Chinese herbal medicines, Filipino herbal medicines, bath oils, no eggs, no dairy, emollients, coal tar washes, goat's milk. Yeah, I've tried a few, and I can say that none of them have really worked for me long term. The only method that worked the best, I'll admit, has been steroids. The only problem is the minute you try to stop the steroids, then the eczema kind of comes back. So I don't know if that technically works, but I mean, while I was on steroids in the earlier years, my skin looked pretty clear, but I'll get onto that later. Yeah, steroids do work, but I mean, after 28 years of continued use, or abuse you might say, I've come to realize that they are quite dangerous. And yeah, it's a catch-22. You want the clear skin, but you can't keep using the steroids. It just doesn't work. It's not a long-term solution, and a lot of us are finding that out now. Long-term dependency on steroids is never going to work for anyone. What items or products can you not live without when it comes to your eczema? So as you guys know, if you're following me on this channel, I've started a topical steroid withdrawal journey. So my answers now for the last 3 years will be very different from how I lived my life before topical steroid withdrawal. If you asked me this question 3 years ago, the one thing I couldn't live without would be my steroid creams. They were literally my lifeline. But now that I don't use them, I have other ways of maintaining my skin. I guess the 3 most important products in my routine would be a face towel, because every morning I wash my face with hot water only and use the face towel to exfoliate any like dead skin cells or the dry skin off my face. Then I would use Aquaphor. Honestly, I talk about this all the time. For me, I don't mind the greasy feeling of Aquaphor. I actually prefer it. So I use that on my skin. And then if I'm wearing makeup, like today, I need a makeup remover. Since doing topical steroid withdrawal, I haven't used soaps or face washes on my face. It's very difficult to get makeup off with just water. So I need a makeup remover, and that would be either an oil, like a really cheap oil to get my waterproof mascara off and take the first layer of makeup off, and then a micellar water. The one that I use now is the Bioderma Sensibio micellar water. What a mouthful that is. It's not cheap, but for me it's soothing and it's calming on my skin. And sometimes if I'm not even wearing makeup, I will use a bit before bed just to refresh my face, because I only wash my face once per day, and that is in the morning. So those 3 products. I have also done a get unready with me video, which I will leave in the description box. Check out the description box if you want to know like more in-depth info about my routines, or like things I'm talking about, or the timeline of my journey. Just check the description box. Yeah, so those 3 items I cannot live without. I have a stock of either of those at both my house and at my boyfriend's house, so I'm never without. What are your triggers? I think when it comes to a skin condition, it's really good to know your triggers, because avoiding them is half of the issue. Some things you can't avoid, like if you have hay fever, it's very hard to just not step outside and be in contact with pollen. Luckily, I don't get hay fever every single year. It depends. Some years are worse than others. But my main triggers that I've found in my life are raw fruits and veg. I have this thing called oral allergy syndrome. Sounds crazy, but it's true that with me, I can have cooked fruit and veg, but having them raw really makes my mouth tingle, makes my throat itch, and it's pretty common actually. So those fruits include apples, bananas, cherries, sometimes strawberries, and vegetables like raw carrots, raw celery. Again, check the description box for a video on that. My other triggers would be things like cats. I'm quite allergic to cats. I want to say that I avoid cats. I don't. I love animals, so it's just a case of petting them at a distance and making sure that I wash my hands thoroughly afterwards. Don't get too close, like in the face and stuff like that. Also stress. I guess stress is a trigger for a lot of people, but for me, I feel like when I do get quite emotional, I feel like my body gets quite hot, and I think it's more of a habit that I just tend to scratch at myself when I'm upset. So yeah, stress is a main trigger in that I kind of lose control, if that makes sense, and I just scratch and I don't care. So being happy-go-lucky is a lot better than me being stressed out, frustrated, anxious. It doesn't help my skin in any way. What is the one rule that you live by when it comes to your eczema? For me nowadays, it's definitely listening to my body and taking each day as it comes. Before, I used to just slap a steroid on it and ignore it. And usually the steroid cream would take away the rash, and then the itching would stop, and then I would forget about it. Whereas now, if I have a flare, I deal with it head on. If that means getting more sleep at night, I can try that. If it means soaking in the bath for half an hour just to make myself feel clean and calm my body down, then I can do that as well. It's not about pretending like you're not going through a flare. Flare-ups will happen, but it's how I deal with them that has changed. Now I'm not afraid of my eczema, whereas before, anything that gave me an instant clear I would use, whereas now I ride out the flares. And as much as they can be scary, I just got to know that it will end, and every flare has always ended. It's like I'm not afraid to live in my skin anymore. Instead of trying to silence it, I'm listening to it, actively listening to it now, and just doing what my body needs me to do to get over that flare. When was your skin at its worst? There have been many periods in my life where my skin has just gotten a lot worse, and I have a video of my eczema journey. The 3 times that stick out is when I was once in primary school, where I tried Chinese herbal medicine. Second would be when I was 21, and then when I was 28, which prompted me to stop using the steroids. When I was 21, I think that was the most scariest time dealing with my skin. I actually have a confession to make. The day that my skin flared up, and I feel like that day just triggered my skin, it was never the same after that day. I was actually trying to go for an interview, kind of. So it was 2010, I was 21 years old, I had just graduated from uni, and I was obviously in between jobs. And one of my friends from secondary school actually had a salon or a barber shop. And because I could do hair, I'm not very good, but I can braid hair, he was like, do you want to come into the salon maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, and just braid hair, and you get to make money off of it? The point of this interview was to meet the people in the barbershop and just have a look around. And I remember the barbershop was really close to my house, probably like a 5-10 minute walk. I came out of the house, and as I'm walking to this shop, my neck started itching. So I started scratching it, and the itch just intensified so much. And as I'm walking, I can feel the skin on my neck was swelling up, and it started getting really tight. So I got my phone out and looked at my reflection in my phone, and my neck was just swollen, and it was so big that you could see all of the lines in my neck, all of the folds. The closer and closer I was getting to the barbershop, I was just getting more anxious, because I was like, how can I talk to people when I look like this? And it was spreading up my face, my lower face as well. I remember getting to the corner of the road, and I could see the barbershop from where I was standing, and I just said, I'm not going in. Instead, I turned around and went to A&E. I went to North Middlesex Hospital, and I went up to the receptionist, and at this point, I think I had a scarf in my bag, but I was covering my face. And I spoke to the receptionist, and I said, hi, I think I'm having an allergic reaction. And I kind of just lowered my scarf and showed her. And then she was like, are you able to breathe? Are you choking? Does it feel like your throat is closing up? And I said, no, but the way my skin is reacting right now, and it's on my neck, I'm scared that might happen. Like I said, I had never seen my skin do this before. It was just so out of the blue as well. And she basically said, well, you're not having anaphylaxis, so there's nothing we can do for you right now. But if you sit down, someone will see you. But you know how A&E is. You sit in there for 4 hours and they send you home with paracetamol. So basically, I went home and I went straight to bed. My skin was not right. That was the start of me having to go to the doctors multiple times in 1 month, because my skin was just going absolutely crazy. It started on my neck, and it went down my back, went down my arms, all the way down to my feet, up to my face. And I don't know what triggered it. I have no idea what happened. But the point is, up until this day, I still have not told my friend why I never turned up to that interview. And till this day I still feel guilty about it, but at the time I was so embarrassed to have to explain what happened. So what, your skin swelled up? Like, it sounds like a lie, but I was so embarrassed, I was so panicked that I didn't know what to do, so I just didn't go. It's been 10 years since that happened and I still haven't spoken to him, so I feel pretty bad. But at the same time, do you know when you're just dealing with something, sometimes it's just better to let someone else down and just like protect yourself, I guess. How do you manage your eczema now, and how are you coping? Well, this month I'm coping a lot better than last month. I just know that when it comes to managing my eczema, it's an individual day basis. I can't make a trajectory plan about what I'm going to do because, like I said, your skin changes like that. This is a roller coaster. It's not linear. It goes back and forth. You have good days, you have bad days. But mentally, I feel more prepared to deal with my skin. I think that's one of the best things about going through withdrawal. You learn to listen to your body and you learn how to cope. Whereas before I was hiding it, I was silencing my body, and that wasn't healthy. Either way, where I am today is 100 times better than where I was 3 years ago. So I can't complain. Just the fact that I'm living without drugs right now, I think that's just an achievement in itself, and I'm fine. I'm here, I'm working, I'm happy, so I made the right decision all those years ago. If you had the power, would you choose to live without eczema? This question can be a bit personal, and of course, growing up, there was many a times where I felt like if I didn't have this skin condition, I would have been a better person. I would have been more confident. I would have probably taken more risks in life. I would have been more sure of myself, and I would have felt better about myself. Many a times I wished I didn't have this. I often asked, why me? And I think that's normal. I'm going through something that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. I honestly wouldn't. But as I've grown up, you kind of realize that without these experiences in life, you wouldn't be where you are today. Every little thing that you go through shapes you in one way, shape or form. The crazy thing is, if I didn't have eczema and then go on to make this YouTube channel, I wouldn't have met so many people that I've met in the last 3 years. I wouldn't have had a reason to go to these meetups and talk to people. Being able to go to a photo shoot and just have pictures taken of me. I wouldn't have been able to write for magazines. Like, everything happens for a reason. I'm just trying to turn a negative into a positive. And it's crazy to think that me just sitting in my room for what, an hour every couple of weeks, just talking to a camera, can help someone feel less alone, or feel that they can relate to someone, that they can have someone to talk to or listen to. Because when I was growing up, I didn't have that. I honestly felt like I was the only person in the world that had eczema. And similarly, I hope that by doing this, it will encourage other people to talk about their skin. Yeah, because I feel like for most of my life, I've dealt with this on my own. It didn't matter who knew about my eczema. Nobody knew about my eczema, if that makes sense. But look at me now. I'm here talking about it. You guys have seen my ups, my downs. You've literally seen me cry. And I'm not a person to cry a lot. I tend to do the opposite. I tend to bottle it all up. After an amount of time, I've just decided to let it out. And it just seems that YouTube is my outlet. Instagram is my outlet. So yeah, do I wish that I never had it? Maybe in the past, yeah, but now as an adult, now that I'm coming to terms with it, do you know what? I wouldn't change it, because I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I wouldn't have had the experiences I've had if not for my eczema. So let's just put that as a no. This question may be a bit of a bonus question, more specific to those going through TSW. The question is, how did you know that this was no longer eczema? I knew something was wrong when my skin started hurting. I've had eczema my entire life, and the only time it would ever hurt was when you've scratched yourself so much that you've caused a wound, or your skin is so dry that when you move it feels tight. That was the only time you would feel pain. Whereas when I was around 28, maybe like even earlier than that, 27, 28, I used to look completely fine. My skin looked fine because I was using steroids, but it hurt. My skin was burning, it was sore. Every time I moved my face, everything just felt so painful, and I just thought, I've never experienced this before. Eczema's not really meant to hurt. It's the wounds of the eczema that hurt, but eczema itself should not hurt. And yeah, it was that day when I went to work and I just cried. I cried to my manager because I was like, my skin hurts, and I couldn't describe it any other way than my skin was in pain. That week, November 2017, I stopped using my steroids and I haven't looked back. But luckily I don't experience that kind of pain anymore, where my skin looks 100% fine but it's sore. Who is your number one skin warrior? There's been so many people that I've met in the last 3 years, and everyone has their own journey and also like a place in mine. So it's very difficult to pick one person. But I guess the person I would pick is, I would say Heba. Hey Heba, I know you're watching. Heba doesn't document her skin journey on Instagram or anything like that, but you will find her in the Facebook groups. I've met her once and she has helped me so much when it comes to just processing my thoughts, my worries, my concerns and stuff like that. She has been so hospitable to me. When I went to visit her, her and her mum treated me like I was family. Food was amazing, the conversation was like amazing, and there have been so many times where she's taken my mind off my skin by distracting me with just, you know, just girly chit chat, or here's a documentary and stuff like that. And I probably don't realise how much I've spoken to her, and it's only when I think back, like, who's been there. And Heba definitely has. If you're part of the TSW groups, you probably know who I'm talking about. She is a massive help, and she just has a lot of wisdom way beyond her years. And I just feel like I'm so glad to have met her, and I'm glad that she reached out to me in the first place and just been such a good friend. Well, there you go. That's the eczema tag. I hope the questions were eye-opening. I just want to see all of your answers. So if you're watching this now and you have eczema, psoriasis, vitiligo, acne, answer these questions. I've left them in the description box for you. Just copy and paste them into the comments and write me out your story. If you want to do this on Instagram, please tag me at TSW_BeeZeeBuzz, and make sure that you put the hashtag #TheEczemaTag on your post as well. And if you film a response on YouTube, please send me a message on my Instagram and direct me to your video, because I want to see it. I want to like all of them. I want to comment on all of them. Once you've done your tag, make sure you tag at least 5 other people, and hopefully we can get this spread around the world and get everyone talking about their skin conditions. So I hope you like this video. I hope you subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.